Let's start with Andi Isabella.
Do you want to go back and forth?
Because I know it'll annoy you.
You do one.
Okay.
So you give an insight, and then I'll give an insight. Let's just inform the people.
So I think we need to have a discussion generally about Andi Isabella, right? Because
let's do this.
He's another player who...
Please speak to your kids about Andi Isabella. Please sit them down and talk to them. He's
another player who's got a lot of different things all working to make up this picture. And it's a fascinating, rare, if not unique profile that you're building for this guy. Has the best grade for a receiver we've ever given, right? So what is this, 5 years of college data now? Best single grade of anybody. Up there with the Amari Coopers. Rashad Higgins had a fantastic grade. Michael Gallup is another one at the top of that list. It's a list of guys that are in the NFL and doing pretty well, predominantly.
Yeah.
And he's ahead of any of them. So that in of itself is impressive. He's not what a lot of people think he is, because you look at a guy who's, short, white, wide receiver, and you think Wes Welker.
Right.
Or Julian Edelman.
And he's already getting those.
Right. So everybody wants to say, well, he's the next one. He's going to go to the Patriots. But he isn't that type of player at all. He's a speedster. He's a guy that beat Denzel Ward in a high school track meet over 100 meters. He's fast. The 4.3 at the combine, once they straighten out the timing problem, Steve. Unofficial 4.6 or whatever it was.
People still live off those unofficial times sometimes.
Right. So anyway, officially in the 4.3s, he's a lightning fast vertical threat receiver. But he's small. So he hasn't had to deal with the kind of press coverage and physicality that you get on the outside at the NFL level. In college, UMass specifically schemed him away from a lot of that stuff. They hit him with bunch formations, with motion. They got him away from all that kind of thing. Very rarely did he ever see any press kind of coverage. And then the other thing is, I think he's actively bad at the kind of stuff that would peg him as one of those inside slot receivers. If you look at how Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, Danny Amendola, they're all exceptional route runners. They're very shifty. They understand how to break away immediately in short areas and run routes. Isabella isn't great at that. There's a lot of sort of false steps. There's a lot of unnecessary extraneous stuff in his route running that makes him not great at that horizontal underneath stuff. What he's great at is running vertical and just blowing past people. So you're kind of left with this, like, what is he at the next level?
So we've seen the comparisons to a Brandon Cooks or a T.Y. Hilton. Do you think he can be at that level from a production standpoint? Can he be at that level? Is he at that level from a style standpoint? Is that what he has to do at the next level? Or is somebody going to draft him and say, well, you have to play in the slot and you better develop in the slot. Therefore, like, you might only be a third or fourth round prospect for us.
That, I think, is his biggest concern, is somebody takes him and just automatically pegs him as a slot receiver and says, right, this is what you are, because I think he's not good at that stuff. And I think that would be a problem.
What about making him... Sometimes it's tough to picture what you want a guy to do at the next level, and we get too specific, like outside receiver, slot receiver. What if somebody makes him Tyreek Hill, half gimmick player, half... you're gonna move him around in the slot to get vertical releases, though, right? Because that's what Tyreek does. He's not a 5-yard option route guy. Sorry to mention Tyreek. I know Tyreek's in the news from a negative sense, but we're just comparing him as a football player. And then when he lines up outside, he's a vertical threat. Could you do that with Isabella? So former running back, forced 18 missed tackles last year after the catch. Very good after the catch. So you get him in the jet sweep game, get him in the shovel pass game. Put him as the number 3 man inside in the slot with vertical releases to use that speed and create mismatches. And every now and again, you try to find that free release outside using motion and all that. I feel like that could be a good combination to use his skills.
It could be, but I think that, it might not be a difference, but what we've seen from Tyreek Hill is that he can play outside, go up against press coverage, and he's so quick and explosive off the line that he can defeat it, right?
Right.
We don't know if Andi Isabella can do the same thing. And I think you probably need to, in order to succeed in that role at the NFL level. We know Tyreek Hill can do it. We don't yet know that Andi Isabella can do it. And I think that is a big question mark. And I don't think he's as clean and explosive as Tyreek Hill is as a route runner either. Do you want to know what my... but I'm going to say it anyway. Do you want to know what my player comp for Andi Isabella is?
Yes, I want to know what your player comp is for Andi Isabella. Which player are you going to compare him to?
Well...
Which player?
You remember that sort of apocryphal story about how back in the space program, NASA spent years and millions of dollars creating this pen that would write upside down and in a vacuum and in zero G and underwater, and the Russians used a pencil. This is how I feel about Andi Isabella's route running. There's variants of tempo, there's head bobs, there's fakes to either side. Just run the out. You're a sprinter. He's a NASA pen. Just run the 5-yard out. You're faster than the guy that's trying to cover you. He's 7 yards off the line of scrimmage. Just run it out. You don't need to vary the release. You don't need to give him a head fake inside. Just run up and then right. That's all you need to do. So Andi Isabella is a NASA pen.
You'd rather him be a Russian pencil.
Exactly. There you go.
This is a Seinfeld episode there too.
Yeah.
The upside down with the pen.
Take
the pen. Take the pen.
So that's my comp for Andi Isabella. He's a NASA pen.
Take the pen.
He's a NASA pen. He should be a Russian pencil.